Well, good morning, good evening, and good night, my terrible listeners. You're tuned in to Terrible Sex with Naseem. I'm producer Dan, and each week I have the honor of bringing you registered nurse, aspiring sex educator, polyamory enthusiast, and true woman of the people, Naseem. She tells us stories, answers our questions, and helps us feel more comfortable around our world's infinite variety of sexuality. Send questions, comments, and especially voice memos to Naseem. This show's best when you're involved. Contact info is on our website at terriblesexwithnaseem.com. Hey, Naseem.
Hi, Dan.
How's it going?
It's been a jumble. What a fucking week, man.
It's been a hell of a week.
Yeah. So back in May, we talked about Roe v. Wade, that whole leak happening with the Supreme Court, and
We
just
sure did.
And just the other day, our pessimism and our fears came to fruition.
Hey, you didn't overreact.
I didn't overreact for once. Yep. So by the time folks listen to this, we'll have all known that Roe versus Wade was overturned. So it's now a states issue. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who listens to this podcast that this is we view it as a huge blow to healthcare in general, to just like the sanctity of privacy in this country. Because, the last time we talked about it, we talked about all the other court cases that this has been the precedent. Roe versus Wade has been the precedent for.
Right.
And, this is just sort of going in the opposite direction of that. So this could affect other things. And we'll just have to see.
Oh, we sure will.
What happens? We'll have to see. We'll have to vote, and we'll have to donate and organize.
Open your pocketbooks and vote.
Yep.
Don't let the minority of this country run this country.
Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening is a very select few have somehow managed to be the ones who are making the decisions for everyone in America. And honestly, it's terrifying. Like, I'm pretty freaked out. It's been a rough couple days since hearing this news, and it's going to affect everyone. You may not think it's going to affect you or matter to you, but coming down the pike, it's going to affect everybody in some way, shape, or form. Whether it has to do with abortion or not, it's affecting. I mean, we're already talking about Miranda rights being basically unimportant. The police you don't have the right to sue the police if you don't get your Miranda rights read to you. There's all sorts of things that are happening, and it feels like we're in the worst timeline. But try not to be pessimistic. There are still states. California is trying to become a sanctuary state. Biden is trying to I think he's using like executive action or something so that doctors won't be like charged. They do abortion services for folks out of their state. States like Illinois, where it's still legal, is expanding their services. I actually have a friend.
That's where I live.
Yeah, me too. Well, for now, I have a friend who actually works for Planned Parenthood in the state of Illinois, and he was telling me last night that they're expanding their services, building new clinics throughout the state to basically support, because we know that people are going to come out of state into Illinois for these services. So in some ways, that's a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing that people have to travel. But
There's some glimmers of hope and light in this dark fucking tunnel we find ourselves in.
yeah, absolutely. And I think what people need to do, especially in states where trigger laws have gone into effect, where um, it will no longer be or is no longer legal, uh, all I can say is just be careful if you are traveling. You know, a lot of people are saying if you use a period tracker on your phone or any kind of digital service, don't use it anymore. Use pen and paper. Don't do anything that can track you digitally. It sounds nuts and it sounds like maybe a little over the top, but we're kind of in a climate where anything is possible, where your information can be found and used against you in a court of law. So um, be vigilant, be careful, and
Use that
vote.
birth control. That shit's still
Use,
legal.
yeah, for now. For now, birth control.
Look out for your buddies. Get them some birth control. Make
Yeah,
it cool.
but be careful. Don't. I would recommend not stockpiling on birth control. One, because that does expire, and also so it becomes less effective if you keep it for a long period of time. And also, there are people who need it right now.
Good
So
advice.
there's already a shortage for Plan B. Don't make it inaccessible to people who need it now. Um, and yes, use contraception to kind of avoid all of this. I would never say to stop having sex because that's garbage, and I think that's kind of what they want us to do. um, because it doesn't just affect like the straight heteronormative community either, right? Like
Nope.
somebody like me who is in a polyamorous relationship, like there's always a risk of pregnancy, of there's always risks when you have any kind of sexual relation. But um like I don't want kids at all, but the idea of getting pregnant by someone who's not my husband is also terrifying to me. So it's something that's always kind of been in the back of my mind. Even though I'm on an implant birth control, um, it's still something I think about. We've talked about this before.
Sure.
So yeah, I think for every woman and every person with a uterus right now is we're all a little freaked out. So be kind and gentle with us, please, and understand our anger. Um, and that's kind of all I have to say about that right now, but I couldn't not talk about it.
I agree.
Yeah. So
So what kind of
that's
funny shit do you have to tell us this week, Naseem?
mostly just kind of talking about how things have been going, really.
Yeah, lay it out.
Yeah, so this is more of like a personal update episode. Um, so remember how my husband and my best friend and I had a threesome? We've talked about this a lot lately.
Yeah, we have.
Well, I got a text message last night or this morning, and my husband's like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with, my friend today." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So my husband and best friend are like basically on a date today without me. And
Uh-oh.
I don't know if it's like a romantic thing. I don't know if they're going to bang. I don't know if it's just friendly hanging out. But I told both of them separately in separate text messages. I was like, if you guys fool around, like I'm okay with that. But I
Now,
was
if
like,
they did, do you want like the play-by-play text action while they're doing it? Maybe some hot steamy
absolutely
pics?
not.
Okay.
No, I don't. I would just like I don't know, because I'm a strong believer that people's business is their business, and like
But you've been in both of their business.
I have been both in their business, but if they choose to do something on their own, it's not I don't believe that it's my business, even though she's my best friend and he's my husband. Because it's
Sure.
their interaction, I don't believe it has nothing to do with me.
No, I wasn't saying like I wasn't asking you if you needed to be checking in on them via text. Like, would that do it for you if they were texting you all their hot action? And I don't know. Could you have a sexting three-way
Could I have a sexting three-way?
when they're together? Would that do
No,
it for you?
I
I don't
don't
know.
think so. I don't
All
think
right.
it would do it for me. I
Well, I'll
think
think of
I'd
other things that will, I'm sure.
I think I think I would, because of my pure curiosity, I would want to know if they fucked. Like, they don't have to tell me. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, they don't have to tell me. I just think it would be like, I'm just curious. Like, I just want to know
Right.
more than anything else. Not that I would
Well,
do anything with that information, but
Jar, best friend, I hope you guys are having a nice time, and I hope you two send me a hot text to Naseem's website so I can read
um,
it on the air.
yeah, who knows? And I could just be like blowing this out of proportion. They're probably going to listen to this and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" No, we weren't going to bang, but I mean, if you did, that's okay too. um, I also I also went away this past weekend.
Oh, I saw it on the gram.
You saw it on the gram?
I did.
Are you friends with me on Instagram?
Oh yeah,
Oh, are you the guy that I can't figure out who it is?
probably.
Okay. There's somebody who like likes all of my Instagram stuff and I can't figure out who this person is and I'm like, "Is that Dan?"
Yeah, that's probably me.
Okay. All right. I'll text you and ask you. Like, I'll ask you the screen name and be like, "Is this you?" Um
I'll send you back a dick pic. That's all I do on Instagram.
okay.
That's not true. It's not true. To my
No.
mother-in-law who's listening, I've never done that on Instagram or anywhere.
Just not on Instagram, Snapchat maybe because there's no evidence. Um
Never Snapchatted.
really?
Never chatted a snap.
Snapchat's such a funny place because it's like when it first came out and I was still like very seated in monogamy, I was so offended by the idea of Snapchat because I'm like, "Oh, it's just an app that makes it possible to cheat." Like I was so prudish about Snapchat because, the images and the text, they can go away. Like they do go away after a period of time unless you save them.
Right.
And I thought this was just like so heinous. Um, but now I use it all the time. um, but yeah, so I went away with this weekend with my partner here in Chicago to House on the Rock up in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
which I don't know how to describe this place. It is so weird. Have you ever listened to American Gods?
No.
Or read American Gods, I should say?
Nope.
Okay, it's basically it's Neil Gaiman. It's like old gods fighting new gods in the United States. It's like a road trip epic. There's a lot going on. It's pretty fantastic. But there's some plot points that take place at House on the Rock. And
Okay.
there's this like giant carousel. I don't know how to describe this place. It's just big and it's weird. But that's not the point. The point is we stayed at a hotel. And the hotel had themed hotel rooms,
Ooh.
which they called Fantassuites.
What? Did you get a fantasy?
We sure as fuck did, buddy.
What was your room? What was your room?
So there weren't a lot of because we booked it so last minute, there weren't a lot available. But let me tell you some options, okay?
Okay.
Now some of them are not exactly what one would consider uh like PC, politically correct. Like there was one called I think it's called Indian Summer, and like the bed is in like a teepee or something. Like totally not okay.
Yeah,
There's
that's a little old school these
yeah,
days.
there's like a geisha room, and it's like vaguely like it's just like not cool in that way. But they also had rooms that were there was like a medieval dungeon room where there were like shackles on the bed. That's the one I really wanted, but it was unavailable. There was also they had like a replica of like the Apollo space shuttle, and you could sleep in the space shuttle.
Well, Apollo was not a space shuttle. That was a capsule.
That's what I meant. It was a capsule.
Still
It was
cool.
still cool. Still cool. I couldn't think of the word, but yeah. So it was weird. The one we stayed in was the jungle room.
Whoa.
So you walk in and
Do
there's
they have
like
loincloths hanging up when you walk in?
no, but there were some I think there's like a cheetah print like blanket on the bed.
All right,
So
that's a start.
it's a start. But there was like fake plants everywhere and then they built what was cool about all these Fanta suites is that they had a like 2 to 4 person hot tub in every room.
Nice. Got to make some
So,
friends in the parking lot.
no, but we did wanna go and, like, ask other people, like, at breakfast and stuff, like, "What kinda room are you in? Are you in one of the Fanta suites? Can we check it out?" Like, I really
Was
wanted to
this
find
place just Fanta Suites, or did they have other things too?
they had regular, like, standard rooms, but, like, why would you stay in a standard
Right,
room?
fucking lame.
If you have the option of staying in, like, Arabian Nights versus which was an option,
Of course
versus,
it
like,
was.
a regular, like, standard 2 queen bedroom, fuck that. So, no, so and the Fanta suites specifically say they're for 2 adults and no children.
What?
It's this place is like a swingers heaven, I swear to God. I think that, like, what they we need to do is we need to get, like, a group of swingers or, like, a kink party or something to rent out the hotel.
Nice.
That's my dream. But
And
anyway,
then we're gonna live stream right from there.
dude, we can't live stream sex parties. It's not okay. I don't know how many times I have to tell you this.
I don't get it.
You don't get it. Everybody
I'm
sign a
just
waiver.
kidding.
Everybody sign a
Right.
waiver. But anyway, so in this particular jacuzzi in the jungle room had it was like they made the spa area of this room look like inside of a cave. They
Ooh.
literally poured cement to make it look and feel like you were in a cave. And so and they had the water came in through this like fake waterfall on the side of the cave wall into the hot tub. Dude, I've never had sex in a hot tub before.
And
Oh, buddy, I never want to do it any other way. Like, I had some drinks. I was feeling pretty loosey goosey. We're both like naked in the hot tub. And it was really funny because I said to him, I'm like, we're getting ready to go in the hot tub. And I'm like, should I put my bathing suit on? Like, I was feeling, I've had sex with this guy numerous times.
at
I,
least at least 3.
At, at least 3. I've had sex with this guy numerous times. We've seen each other naked a bunch, but for whatever reason, being in this like different environment in the hotel room, I was like awkward. Like I like didn't I was awkward. I'm like, because we'd never been like naked in a tub before. It was
Right.
like that was new. And I I'm like, should I put my bathing suit on? He's like, Naseem, the whole reason I got this room was for us to take a like naked bath together. I'm like, okay, okay. As long as we're on the same page. So like the water's really warm and I'm putting my head underneath like the waterfall, getting all sexy like, right? And we start making out in the bathtub. And I've never been so turned on in my life
All right.
being like underwater and I'm making out with this guy and he's touching me and the next thing I know I'm like on my back like floating in the water. It seemed like and he's hard as a rock. and but he's got his like hands up me, and I am like I'm like on another planet, like making noises I've never made before. I can't.
Is it jungle noises?
I was like, yeah, I was in the jungle, and it was after 10 p.m. and they had quiet hours after 10 p.m. So there was like a little part of the back of my brain that's like, be quiet. You don't want the neighbors to hear you. Fuck the neighbors. Let them hear.
Yeah, we're in the jungle room.
Oh my gosh. It was crazy. And it was something else. But so then like he makes me come in the bed. Now, for the record, you really shouldn't have sex in a hot tub or like while submerged. Like it's not actually that good for you. It can mess up with like your pH and like because like douching is bad for if you have a vagina.
But sometimes you got to play with your body and push it to the limit.
Oh my God. And I pushed it to the limit. He did too. And I'm like, so he makes me orgasm, bless him. And then he's like no longer hard for some reason because he's like got his rocks off just like watching me come. So then I'm like spent. I am passed out. And so we're like, okay, it's time to, and we stay in the whirlpool for, God, it felt like 10 hours, but I think it was on like another like 45 minutes or something. And then we go to bed. And we're both exhausted. And because I'm a giver, I start apologizing to him. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I came and now we're too tired and you're not hard anymore and I can't get you off. And I'm like having all this fucking guilt, right? And he looks at me and he's like, Naseem, how many times have I come and you haven't? And I'm like, well, he's like, I mean, that's a good point. He's like, this is for you, baby. So that was a good night. It was a good night.
Sounds like it.
It was a good night. I mean, I know bathtubs are not good for you, like to have like sex in them. But if you're willing to take the risk, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, man. Especially with somebody who like gives a shit about your pleasure and like enjoys seeing you writhe. Like afterwards, he's like, you are saying and doing stuff that like I didn't know was possible. And I'm like, well, there you have it. So it was a lot of fun. Highly recommend. Not terrible sex. The terrible part is I probably have a UTI now, but
well, yeah, from all the other terrible sex that happened in that hot tub shortly before you guys got there.
You know, I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, because I've been in a hot tub like at a hotel before. Like Jar and I, we went to a hotel in like northern Michigan like 2 years ago, and it had like one of those heart-shaped hot tubs in it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we stay in this hot tub and we noticed that there's like floaties in it. Like, oh, either the thing hadn't been used in a while or they just like never cleaned it because there was like weird scum buildup on the top of it after we turned the jets on, and we're like, we're gonna forego this one. So we immediately we immediately showered and like never used that hot tub while we were there, which was a real bummer. But we didn't like my partner here. We did not have that experience at this hotel in Wisconsin. So highly recommend it if you're into kitsch. It's called the Don Q Inn. It is,
and we'll have a link right there in the show notes.
Have a link. It's the kind of place you walk into and you either like. It's either exactly what you're looking for or it is not at all what you're looking for. Because you read some of the reviews and some of the reviews are like, oh, it's so like old and needs to be updated and it's kind of grimy and like this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, it is a cheesy, tacky, Fantasuite hotel. It is exactly what it says it is. Like, it is perfect. So
yeah, I think I'd be into that.
Especially considering we were going to this like weird fucking tourist attraction as well. It was like the perfect weekend. I loved it. I loved it.
Well, good.
Yeah, had a great time. So,
I'm glad to hear it.
yep. So, let's move on to questions. I got nothing else. I am like
It's all
tapped
right.
this week.
I got
I'm
I
like
got good ones for you.
I am emotionally tapped out this week. So the idea of having like a long drawn out story was just like too much for me.
No, I think this went perfect. I think this went
Great.
perfect. All right. Hey Naseem, when she says "come for me," is that a good or a bad thing?
It's a great thing. What's the question? Like I don't understand. If she is saying come for me, that is her telling you that she wants it, she wants you, she's into it, she is like 100% like down and in the moment, and she just can't get enough of you. Come for me is like, it should be a huge compliment.
Hey Naseem, I'm a married man in my 30s and have a good sex life with my wife. For a while now, I've had fantasies about anal stuff. I often fantasize about being pegged, which she's not into. But when I do fantasize about it, it's never really the man in the fantasy that gets me going, just his cock. Is this just some type of fetish? If so, can you point me in the right direction to what it's called?
Listen, the anus is a wonderful place. It's it's totally okay and normal to want to be pegged. Um, it's I wouldn't call it a specific fetish. I think it's probably more of a kink. It's more of an interest, a desire you have. The trouble here is you sound like you want your wife to peg you, and she is not interested. Um, and that is hard when two people's sexualities don't necessarily line up. I would if it's something that's super important to you and something you really wanna try, I would really try to have an honest, open conversation with her about why you want it, and, you can tell her, like, "You don't have to use your hands, we can find a toy." There are lots of butt plugs. You can even do, like, a prostate massager too, where it's something that you can insert yourself, and you could even give her control of the remote, and so she can, like, get you off on her own, and she may find great pleasure in doing that. I know the first time I pegged somebody, I felt like the most powerful being on the planet. Like, I pegged somebody once, like, the first time, and I was like, "Is this what being a man is like?" Like, it felt so powerful, and she may feel the same way if she were to try it, but again, it's only if, you can if she's interested in it, and if it's really important to you, I think that that's a conversation you need to have. In terms of getting the real thing, again, a conversation with your wife. Would she be interested in a third player? Uh, would, you know, is that something that she might be open to if like she doesn't want to penetrate you? Would she be okay with somebody else doing it in her presence? Um, there's like a lot to talk about here in order to make this happen for you. Um, but again, it's going to come down to communicating.
Yeah, and look, if you want to do some butt stuff in the presence of your wife, you can baby step up to that. You don't have to just get her a giant cock to shove in you like the first night you guys try something. That's if she's not into butt stuff at the moment, then there's some baby steps you could take before everybody
Absolutely.
jumps into the deep end.
Absolutely. Of course, I'm going at the opposite extreme here, but uh, there are definitely things, she could watch while you try to insert something yourself. Um, I'm also interested in, have you ever done anything anally to her? So she kind of like if that was something she was interested for herself to see like what it's like if you've never done anything anally before together. Um, there's a lot of experimenting that sounds like needs to happen before you
Yeah.
can get to a giant like cowboy cock. Uh, and and of course, you're not going to be ready for that. If you've never done anal, you are not going to be ready for anything other than like a finger, singular. So
Baby steps, my man. Baby
keep
steps.
that in mind. And if she doesn't want to use, uh, she can always put a glove on if she's worried about like any like fecal situation. If bring that up as an option. But yeah, baby steps for sure.
Hey, Naseem. My wife and I are married 18 years with 2 kids and have sex on average only once every other month. It's her choice, not mine. I feel this is below the normal amount. She thinks it's normal for our age. We're in our early 40s. Is either of us correct?
It's not so much an age thing, so much as it is just like a life thing. Um, you've got kids. I imagine you're both working, you're both really busy. Things do slow down with familiarity, with life stuff. Um, we've had a similar question to this in the past, and the conclusion that I think, Dan, you sort of came to, and I agreed with you, was maybe just taking sex off the table. And if you want to spice up your sex life or have sex more often, don't make the relationship about sex and like don't focus on it because that just puts more pressure on both of you. And to go out on dates and like do romantic-y type things that and make that more of a regular occasion without the expectation of sex, and then eventually sex will probably come um with that because you'll like find excitement in each other again, and she may become more interested in you if you're like giving her a reason to want to have sex with you. Remember, women, I'm speaking specifically in like heteronormative relationships here, just because she's your wife doesn't mean she owes you sex, right? And so maybe think about why she's not interested in having sex with you. What are you doing in the relationship to turn her on?
What are
Are
you
you
doing with your kids? Is she fucking exhausted at the end of the day?
right?
Take your
Exactly.
kids to the park for an hour.
Like, is she caregiving for your children? Is she also working? Is she cooking? Is she cleaning? Is she doing all of the things and being like essentially your caregiver? And then she's also expected to have sex with you. Give her a reason to want to have sex with you because she may not see you as a sexual being anymore but she's not going to tell you that, right? Because that's a hard conversation to have. But she may not see you as a sexual creature anymore because she feels more like your mother than your partner. So, not to say that that is the case, but I would examine your
But you make
life.
sure it's not the case.
Yes, it's up to you, buddy. It's up to you to make that call.
Yeah, make sure that she's getting the support that you can give her. Be a good partner, and yeah, then and don't make it about putting your dick in a hole.
Exactly.
Make it about connection. If you need to get off, that's not her responsibility, but maybe she's cool with being in your presence while that happens. It doesn't have to be all PIV. Maybe she's willing to help you in other ways, and that can be quite enjoyable.
And you can also help her out too, both in domestically and sexually. It's not all about you.
Yeah, man, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this one. Fuck. She's gonna be like, you knew all those things already?
Dan, don't disappoint me.
Oh, God bless her. Hey, Naseem, if a girl is 5'7" and weighs 108 pounds, can an 8-inch dick hurt the girl? Thanks.
I'm just blinking over and over again.
Right. First kiss a girl, and then ask questions about the next step.
I'm skipping this one. It upsets me too much.
Well, I'll take this one. Listen, you don't have an 8-inch cock. You don't have a girlfriend who's 5'7" and weighs 108 pounds that wants your 8-inch cock in her body. So don't sweat it. Everything is fine. And if you have an 8-inch cock and a 5'7" girlfriend that weighs 108 pounds and she wants that 8-inch cock in her body, she'll let you know if it hurts or not.
And there it is, folks. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Also, just try to be nice around girls and see if they'll kiss you first.
I mean, that's kind of the key. Be nice to the people you're interested in, and maybe they'll let you kiss them and
Right.
do other stuff to their bodies and with their bodies and with yours too.
And ask them if what you're doing hurts.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Real important. Hey, Naseem. As a male, I really like anal fingering, but I'm worried because I heard it might cause serious damage to the rectum and other parts in there. Also, are there any tips on how I should finger myself? And should I use virgin coconut oil as lube? This will be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so it's actually a good question. Because the mucosal lining of the anus and the into the rectum is
Get
very
your pens and papers out. Pens and papers out. We're getting into anatomy and physiology, folks.
not that much. Because it's a very sensitive area, it's very thin. The whole purpose of that part of your body is to absorb liquid and moisture out from your stool. It's a very porous membrane and it's very thin. So if you're not, I don't want to say, if you're not careful, you can rupture or tear skin down there. But like, it's not dangerous, right? So here's some tips. Keep your nails short. Keep your nails short, keep them clean and filed. Make sure you have good hygiene. Wash your hands before and after penetration. And if you're new to it, just one finger at a time. And go in, and you're not going to like force it in, not back and forth. If you're just starting anal play, you want to just kind of rub around the outside of the anus, get yourself like nice and worked up and loose as you can. Of course, using lube. Coconut oil is fine. It's a good one. I've used it before. I also recommend a water-based lubricant, especially if you're using toys. But anyway, use your finger. You want to go in a little bit and just hold it there for a while. Get used to the feeling of something inside of your ass. And then you can work it out and then back into that same point. As things start to loosen up, you can gently increase the amount of your finger inside. But yeah, don't just like start pumping and thrusting into yourself if you're new to it. Okay. Because then, yeah, you can cause some damage. You could end up with a prolapsed anus and you don't want that. So go slow, go gently, use lube.
Have fun.
Most of all.
Hey, Naseem. What's a good way to spice up a dick pic? I've seen hundreds of dick pics, but I'm willing to bet if you put them all back to back, they practically look identical. What's a fun but interesting way to spice up a dick pic?
So I don't know if if this is a consensual dick pic, if this is a dick pic that someone wants to receive, because I'll tell you what, most people, not a fan of the unsolicited dick pic. But if this is a consenting recipient, here's what you do. No one gives a shit about just a close-up of your dick. Because you're right, they all look the same. And dicks are, I'm sorry, they're kind of like, there's a reason why men want to see a naked woman and women want to see men in a suit. Like there's a distinct difference between what men and women find sexy, okay? So, but if you're going to send a dick pic, here's what you do. Angle the camera not straight on your penis, okay? You actually want to take it from an angle. I would recommend laying down, okay? Have your, I'm assuming your penis will be erect, right? Stroke it if you wanna, but angle it so the camera is sort of like coming down your shoulder, and so it's getting a um a trace of your torso, your chest, and and it's the angle is getting a picture of your chest going down along your dick.
Ooh, that does sound hot.
Yeah. Also, maybe hold your penis and kind of hold it to the side a little bit so it's not showing the whole thing. Like give it a little tease so it's not showing the whole penis. You're just sort of showing your pubis and your hip and maybe the top of your thigh, and you see it like the base of the dick but not the whole thing. Your hands are covering it because, hey guys, people really like hands. People love to see hands. It's very sexy. Hands are sexy. So, a little bit of teasing, a little bit of titillation. If there's a blanket that's covering half of the penis, they can see your hips and the top of your thigh, and there's a bulge and you can see it a little bit of the penis. Same thing with holding your hand over it. Drape a sheet, a thin sheet so you can see the outline of the dick, but maybe not the whole thing in view. Pictures in gray sweatpants without boxers on. Wear some gray sweatpants, no boxers, so you can see the outline of your dick and take a photo of that. People go crazy for it. I should have a whole blog post about this.
I did not think that you were going to have this kind of answer. This is good. This is fire.
I watch a lot of boudoir photography TikTok. So
well done. I was going to say better to have a funny dick than an ugly dick. So get yourself a Sharpie and draw a mustache and some glasses on.
You can also do that. There's actually somebody that I was following. I forgot the guy's name, but there was somebody on FetLife I used to follow who used to do these really funny photos of his dick. And he would take the picture and then he would digitally draw eyes and a mouth and arms on it, and it'd be doing different tasks. It was just hilarious and so charming. But if you're going for sexy angle shots, a little bit of silhouette under a sheet or a bulge and some gray sweatpants, that's the ticket. A close-up of your dick, no one gives a shit about.
Good to know. And with that, I don't think that we can finish any stronger than that. Jesus Christ.
Strong finish all the way around.
Well done. Well done. Well, I guess we'll do it again next week.
We sure will. Thanks for following me on this kind of tangential episode, but I think it needed to happen this week.
Yeah, it was a fun one still. I liked it.
Good. I'm glad. Thanks for joining me, Dan.
You got it. Thanks, Naseem.
See ya.
Naseem wants all her terrible listeners to know that although she is a medical professional, she is not your medical professional. This podcast is not medical advice. If you want medical advice, please seek out your very own healthcare provider. Terrible Sex with Naseem is part of the Terrible Podcast Network.